In case you haven't come across a company by the name of Mad Ideas by now, you must have come across their work. They're the ones who've created some of the most impactful websites in the world today, championing the works of incredible activists like Dr. Gemma Newman and groundbreaking organizations like Plant-Based Health Professionals UK. Now, while they offer a brilliant marketing and design service for clients from all backgrounds, there is something that they do differently. They make a conscious effort to only take on projects where they believe will make a positive difference. Now, could this be a model for other businesses to follow in order to operate more ethically? What I want to know is who or what inspired them, what encourages and motivates them to keep working with this kind of unique ethos, and what gives them the courage to keep making challenging decisions in order to raise standards and make a difference in everything that they do. Moreover, how are they giving back to the community and to the planet? Unsurprisingly, their work and business ethic has been recognized by the United Nations Race to Zero campaign. And in my opinion, they lay down a blueprint defining what it means to run a company as ethically as possible. Let's find out more about their incredible journey on this episode of the Glass Worlds podcast. Hello guys, this has been a long time coming. We've been trying to organize this for a while, haven't we?
Yes, it's great to see you, Carol.
Good to see you too.
You look like you've actually got younger, which isn't fair. It's a vegan body, isn't it? And then we had
It's inevitable. It's inevitable.
Yeah. So yes, it's who'd have thought? Like when we were rushing up and down the country at that time, and then how the world's changed so much, and
of course. And I feel, I mean, the last time we met, it was Dr. Tissot, Meta, and Earthling Ed giving a talk at Cambridge, and to the students, and that was such an inspiring evening, because I got to see both of these guys in action, and they are just brilliant. It's almost like it just literally just flows out of them. Comes from the heart, comes from the mind, and it's just I could listen to both of them speak all day long, and I'm always just blown away by it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't want to focus on those guys, because I'm going to have them hopefully as well on here. My question to you guys, I'm going to start, is there are two important days in everyone's life, most important days, and the two important days are the day that you're born and the day you find out why. So I want to start by asking you guys, what do you feel is the purpose of your life? What wakes you up in the morning? The one or two reasons that just really fire you up and just wake you up in the morning. So Carmen, you go first, then I'll go to Carol.
I feel like I found my purpose, I found my calling, and I can't describe to you how that feels when you feel that your life has a purpose and that you have a meaning and that you have something to give towards the world. There are times when you think, oh, what am I doing? And I did experience that when my father passed away, which was around 5 years ago. And it made me question everything, because I almost wished he was still here and I was taken away, because I could see how much he glued our family together, how much my mum loved him. I met all of his friends, and they all said what an inspiring person he was. And I just wished, if I could just be a shadow of my dad, I'd be happy. And it was around that time that I found out about veganism and started looking into it. And to be honest, it's changed our lives in such a big way. It is almost like we have been reborn again, and the way that we think, the way we question things, the way we look at the world. So every day I think about the animals and what they're going through. I try my best to incorporate animal advocacy in all of my work. I try to make the world a little bit more beautiful, whether that's a small thing or big thing. And I think sometimes it's the small things that we do for other people or for animals or anyone really, which make the biggest difference. And it's those small gestures from the heart, which I think do make the world a better place. those are the things that people remember. It's how you make others feel. So yeah, I feel really happy. I feel really happy to be vegan. It's like an undescribable feeling, but I'm so grateful that I found veganism. To me, it saved my life. It saved my family's life. And I'm just grateful. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think we'll find that there are thousands, probably millions of people who feel exactly the same way you do right now. And thousands of activists out there who wake up for the same reason you do, to help the animals, to heal the earth. What about you, Carol?
It's normally my tummy that gets me up in the morning. It's food. I'm always thinking about food. But yeah, I think the animals are, always at the forefront of my mind. I feel we have the power to make positive change. The only way I can describe it is if you go out and you smile at someone, they'll smile back at you. And then it will go on because that person will then smile at someone else and you spread a bit of happiness. So what I'm trying to do is spread kindness to all kinds, wherever possible, trying to lead by example as well. And I think it's really important that we give the voice to the animals, but we do it in a positive way for them.
Yeah, I agree. I really wish I knew what I do now, like many years ago. I really wish that I had that knowledge. So education and sharing that knowledge is so important, because without education, without seeing the footage that we've seen, without having that, we probably wouldn't have changed. We would have been carrying on just living our lives and being none the wiser about it. So we're so grateful for the people that have made undercover documentaries. Their bravery in doing that has changed so many lives. And I can't imagine what they would have seen, the smells, the sounds.
And putting the footage together as well.
Putting the footage together.
Yeah.
And seeing like helpless animals' eyes right in front of them. So I'm so grateful that they did that, and that we actually watched that. Yeah.
And I think in some ways we because the world's changing and the way that information is shared, it has helped the vegan movement because we're able to share information and bring it to a wider audience. For example, social media. Without it, I don't think there'd be as many vegans as there are now. So it's important that this information is brought to a wider audience so they can see for themselves, not just told, but can see it.
So just like you guys, for me, when I found out about what was happening to the other animals that we share this planet with regards to how our actions impact them, I was in denial. I couldn't understand, and I couldn't accept the fact that we could actually have this happening in our world. And I think my mind just shut off a little bit. But I remember how my life was like before and how it's changed since. But what about you guys? How's the transition been? How was your life before you found out, and how has it changed now?
I was a little bit angry before because I felt like I'd been conned because I was a vegetarian and I didn't realize that what I was eating, my diet, contributed to so much suffering. And it really opened my eyes in terms of other beings, their life, how their purpose in life is. They have a date of when they're born and they have a date of when they die. And it was just so sad.
That someone else has chosen that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
I think before I found out about veganism, I was really busy just living my life and not really looking into anything deeply at all. And I was probably one of those people that bought free range eggs and organic chicken. And
I think you were quite proud of that fact as well, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I almost felt a little bit resentful that I was paying a little bit more for these, these pieces. And so I already thought I was doing a good thing. I never realized the harm that I was causing through my purchases. So the first thing we did is watch Earthlings. And like you, after we watched it, we went numb for about a week because we all watched it together. We made a decision that we would watch it as a family. So it was you, Rob, and my mum. And I remember we had these cups of tea and we said, right, we're going to watch it. And Carol said, it's going to be really hard. And I was like, yeah, I'm okay. I'll watch it. And then I sort of backtracked a bit and said, well, maybe I don't really want to watch it. And then my mum was like, can't be that bad. It's just eggs and dairy in the pet industry. It can't be that bad. So we all watched it. And honestly, it was like a horror movie, but the worst thing was that it was real. For the first time we could see what was happening to animals, and it was so unnecessary. And so, yeah, we straight after watching that, we were like, we don't want to be part of that anymore. I just don't want to be part of it at all. And then we just took, when you find out why, it becomes really easy to be vegan. And then I remember someone saying to me, you might think it's hard, but how hard is it for you to pick up a different product compared to what the animals go through? And remember, those things that you find hard to give up were never yours to begin with, because that's their life. That's their body part. That's their hair. And then she put it in such a simple way that I thought, yeah, that wasn't even mine to begin with. So actually it's not hard at all. So it changed me a lot from being someone that would just grab something from a shelf. I questioned things a lot more. I
think we're more mindful.
Very mindful. I looked at things a lot more deeply. I questioned a lot of things. So I could see there was an injustice that was happening here. And like Carol, I just thought I need to do something about it. How could we have not known about this for this long and not know what was happening to animals, for example, even for dairy, where the female mothers are forcibly impregnated again and again, just so that her milk can be sold to humans. And with these chickens, where they're kept in the dark all the time, and the only time they see any light at all is on the way to the slaughterhouse when they're about to be killed. And all of these examples, for example, we would say, oh, roast lamb is so tender and tasty. And that's because they're a baby. They're like months old and they're killed to go onto a plate. So I looked into it all, and my healing place was actually going into nature a lot more. So before, I would never have looked deeply at a flower or a insect. I was really scared of insects. Carol wasn't scared of insects. I was absolutely terrified of any insects. So I would love going into the garden and planting something. But if I came across any creepy crawly, I'd be like, no, I can't do this anymore. But I just appreciated every living being, whether they were small or large. And then I would be the person that would swat the fly out the window and just get out. You're not supposed to be in here. And then when I became vegan, I almost took my time to Carol got like a humane fly catcher, put them in the catcher, and I would actually look at the fly and see, oh my goodness, she's got really beautiful wings. She's actually got eyes that look like a fighter pilot that wrap around here. And she was like washing her face inside the little holder. So I was like, this fly actually washes their face as well and rubs their eyes. didn't really want to get into the catcher. And then so I just spoke to that fly and said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to let you out, and then just let them out the window. So I would never have imagined myself doing something like that at all before I was vegan. So I think the more compassionate you become, it's like a muscle, you become more and more compassionate. So yeah, you change
Your
in so many
perspective
ways.
changes, but it's in a positive way. Definitely. There's no negatives. It's completely positive.
And then you almost think about, what if that was me? What if I was in that situation? What would I want someone to do? So after watching some of the footage, I think the most powerful one was a cow which was trying to escape from the slaughterhouse, where she had been led up these two concrete walls and was trying to turn around. It wasn't graphic at all, but we could just see she was just trying desperately to get out of that situation. And we all just looked at each other and thought, and I think we all went through that same feeling, as what if that was me? How would I feel if that was me? And what if, they can feel and they can suffer. And what if that was me in that position? And how urgently would I want someone to change? So yeah,
I think the main thing now is we realise we have a choice. And with that choice, we should, choose the right one.
I think it's very, very interesting you said all of this, especially when it came to how it was Earthlings that shifted your worldview. And I exactly like you guys, it was Earthlings for me as well. And the one thing that I loved about Earthlings was the central core of justice for all. And I loved the way it starts and how it draws parallels with what happened to people of other races, what happened to people of other beliefs, what happened to women, every single member of our Earth society who's faced discrimination, and how that, that similarity in terms of how the powerful oppress the weak, that's been translated to billions of beings of other species right now. And I feel that any pro-justice advocate out there, vegan or not, whatever, if you're fighting for a better world, I feel Earthlings is one of the most powerful films anyone could ever watch. And it's not something that we should ever shy away from, because, it comes with, a label of almost exposing what no one wants to watch. But the fact remains that if we want the world to be a better place, we have to see the whole truth in its entirety. At least try to see it, because I can vouch for every single person who's watched this kind of footage, or watched Earthlings especially, how their worldview has changed, not for the worse, but actually for the better. The appreciation for other people's suffering, the appreciation for the destruction of nature, and how animals are being treated and how they're being used and oppressed. It's accelerated. And definitely it's made me a better human being. And just how you saw that little fly as an individual, my appreciation for nature has expanded more than it ever was before I watched Earthlings. And now, I go out there in nature just like you guys, and I have, I look at the trees, I look at the birds, I listen to them. Before, it was just, I had blinders on all the time. We were just so soaked up in our little lives. And then once we start looking out, we see that there's a whole universe out there that not only can we learn from, but we have to cooperate. We have to be there for each other. But I loved how you described that fly as, you saw that as a being who was rubbing her face, and she actually had a face, because most people don't even recognize that little beings like flies have faces. And there's a famous line that goes around, especially amongst our circles, that says that anyone with a face or a mother, I will not eat, or I will not hurt. And they all have a face, and they all have mothers, right? And lastly, coming back to your point about animals trying to escape, now thanks to social media, there's so much footage of animals trying to escape from slaughterhouses, from slaughterhouse trucks, from dairy farms, egg farms. And it just shows how intelligent they are, but also how desperate they are to leave. It's people think of them as stupid, but at every single level of their oppressive cycle, there is a desire to escape the hurt and the pain, because they feel they're, we, any one of us who's lived with a dog or a cat, they know when danger's coming. They know when someone's about to hurt them. And I'm so glad now that people are being shown how much these animals don't want to be there and how much they want to escape. So yeah, I thought that I'd just share that with you, because it kind of really really opened my eyes when I saw all of that. But regarding your journey, now I know it's changed your outlook when it comes to what you do on a daily basis. But what about professionally? Tell me a little bit about what you guys do, and how this central core of compassion, justice, looking after other people, other animals, other nature, how that kind of almost defines or dictates what you do professionally as well.
We set up Mad Ideas just to make things look nice, and hopefully communicate different projects that are changing the world. And we're really lucky in that we work with so many innovators and forward thinkers, and the team that we've got around us that always inspire us. So we work with people like the plant-based health professionals, and we produce their website, and we've been working with them since we went vegan. And what was amazing is that when we went vegan, that was the same time when our father passed away. Shireen, who was working at King's, where my dad was being looked after really well, did her first talk at an event, and that was the one that we went to. So we just feel there's like something has connected us along the way for us to find. And we just love the work that we're doing. We produce websites, we do creative logos, we create newsletters, leaflets, pamphlets, and we work on all kinds of communications. For example, the world's first hydrogen network that's being built in the world. We're working on that. But so many exciting projects. And so every day it's really exciting because we get to work with a new bunch of people, and the world's constantly changing. So it's really fast moving. But we try as much as possible to advocate for the animals. So in the beginning, when we first found out about what was happening about the animals, we almost wanted to abandon Mad Ideas and say, right, we don't want to do Mad Ideas anymore. We'll just go outside on the streets and talk about it. Anyone that will listen about it. And then what we didn't realize is that the vegan movement needs lots of different people from all different backgrounds and all different voices with all different skill sets to change the world. So what can we do? So we were using our soft skills of communication to create these leaflets for organizations and become ambassadors for different non-profit charities that are involved with animals. So this year we've become ambassadors for Veganism in Education, which is an educational initiative which puts educational resources into schools, all taught with morals and ethics and compassion in mind for younger people. That to me is key, like just having education out there. And so we were so happy that we were part of that. We're working with Professor Andrew Knight on his logos and everything. So he's got a professional presence. As we mentioned, plant-based health professionals, the Vegan Organic Network as well, which we met around 5 years ago. Wow. They're pioneers in that they are producing vegetables and plants, but without any animal inputs at all. And what we remember him saying is that forests are the most rich biodiverse places, and they grow many, many plants, and you don't need to tip the contents of a slaughterhouse onto a forest floor. So why are we growing all these vegetables and saying that we need animal inputs for this? So we're just putting our skills to help as many different organisations as possible, because we think they will have the most impact and they can reach the most people. And then from a private perspective, we also create materials, educational materials, so brochures and leaflets. We're working with sanctuaries and creating calendars for them. So one of them that we love is, this is the one for Eden. And she's got an animal sanctuary in Ireland.
So you guys designed
Yeah, we designed the calendar. And what's special about this is that all of the residents there feature on the Go Vegan World billboards. That Sandra Higgins, she's an amazing woman. She puts together all the billboards and puts animals right at the forefront.
Tells their story.
And tells their story.
Yeah.
So we spoke with her recently, and what she said was really interesting is that today we're talking more about vegan products and vegan product launches, and almost the animals have become sort of further and further down the line. So she's trying to make their invisibility visible again. And I think that's also something you mentioned, where we want to normalize veganism. We want to bring the animal victims back to the forefront so that we can heal the world, because so many of the world's problems, like the environmental destruction that's being caused with the species extinction, is because animal agriculture is one of the leading drivers of rainforest deforestation and species extinction. And the reason we have so many of these health crises is because of the diet. So if we address the stem and we address that, what's happening to animals, all of the other things will fall into place. But it's that's the key, is addressing the justice side, like you said, like eradicating speciesism, because animals have done nothing wrong to us, but wow, what's happening to them is just is not right, is it?
Yeah, I mean, there's no words for it, and I'm so glad and so happy that you're including their calamity, and you're putting that in the forefront of some of the work that you do and how you can help them. And I did my research. I actually went onto madideas.com. I had to look, and I was really pleasantly surprised that you've done websites for Plant-Based Health Professionals UK, Dr. Gemma Newman, and I went onto their websites, the ones that you design, and I was so blown away by how well they are set up. So thank you for that. This is just like you said, we all play a role in making this happen, and it's so nice to finally meet the people behind these fantastic websites that are out there.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I loved about your website is there's a section that went on to your approach, and then it went down to your inspiration, and there's another section about giving back. And what you said really made my heart sing, because it I'll just quote what was written on your website. It says, "We're honored and privileged to work on campaigns which help safeguard and protect the most vulnerable in our society." And I absolutely love that. And can you imagine if all of our professions, all the occupations that we're involved in, had that ethos and was giving back? Because if we really think about it, the way we live and the way we work right now in 2023 is all taking from the earth. There is nothing we're actually giving back. Even the most well-meaning of us, the amount that we give back compared to how much we take on a daily basis is a tiny fraction. I'm so happy to hear that this is one of the aims of your business and how you want to give back, because it's very rare. I have to say, it's very rare. We come across lots and lots of websites, and most of them are just money orientated, how would you say it? Self accumulating. It's all about one-sidedness. And the fact that this is there, I think, is really inspiring, because again, like I said, every one of us, doesn't matter if we're doctors, lawyers, accountants, we all need to give back if we want a world to live in forget caring about animals or anything. If we care about our families, if we care about our future, we need to make sure there's a world and an earth to sustain us. Because without that, it doesn't matter how great we are at our jobs. We could be the best web designer or the best consultant. It doesn't matter, because when the world's destroyed, and as we're seeing in front of our eyes, it won't matter what we do. And just going back to what you said about the health crisis, just today I found out, I came across a post on social media about how the bird flu is now affecting more and more mammalian species. So there was about 600 sea lions in Peru who died because of catching avian flu. There's mink farms who are suffering because of this. We already know pigs contract avian flu and spread it all. But again, there's a very, very high chance that it's going to jump. We can't ignore the fact that it could very likely be the next pandemic waiting. But yet we just don't see enough done by our governments, enough awareness by the public to let go, because unless we leave the animals alone, unless we leave nature alone, we're going to end up suffering in the end. It's just going to keep coming back to us. And this latest attack, if you can call it that, or almost like a karmic attack on our society, has been COVID and all the pandemics before then. With regards to how you guys are using your time, both personally and professionally, regarding activism or supporting sanctuaries or education, how is all of that going? How do you find the reception of all of that, all that you're doing, and what kind of obstacles have you faced in trying to make this more available to everyone?
I think all of the suppliers that we use have been very helpful and supportive. For example, we would say we want to have paper that's recycled. We want to make sure that there's a vegetable inks, it's vegan, your processes, and then they'll look into it and then they'll ask their suppliers how the manufacturing process is done. So they're also learning at the same time, and they're finding better ways of doing things.
What's been really good is that we will, for example, we were recently asked to make some goodie bags, and they normally would just put some jelly sweets in there. And we sourced vegan candy, and we said, this is like vegan candy, vegan chocolates, and all the delegates, there was like lots of different suppliers there that were from software engineers to the best programmers in the world, because this was like a global conference of people that were coming together to look at data in the future. They hadn't come across any dairy-free or vegan confectionery. Some of them didn't even know what veganism was. And that just goes to show how well hidden what's happening to animals is, how like we are, unless you stumble across it, you might not come across it, because if you're really busy, are you going to be scrolling social media all the time? Probably not. So where else would you see this information? So the feedback we got was, it tasted amazing. It doesn't taste any different. So all the time we're trying to speak with our suppliers about getting vegan inks. And then even there was a company that was doing pressure washing and cleaning for councils. And we said, well, did you know that you can get certification to get cruelty-free patio cleaners that don't harm wildlife? Because this is good for your customers as well, because the conventional chemicals actually burn animals' feet. And he said, no, I didn't know that. I'll go and speak to my wife about it. And then they come back and then they've researched it. And so we've helped give them some knowledge along the way, but also sent them links to why these other products were hurting animals. And then in terms of our time, we try to, as we said, like do as much as possible for the animals, because we realise the urgency of the situation that the animals are in. And sometimes we almost felt a bit bad if we were doing a job that wasn't about animals. So we would try and, whenever we had a meeting with a client, we would bring them dairy-free milk, and then there'll be a dairy-free leaflet in there, and we'll put a vegan Christmas card in with their order, just so that, and then we'll say, instead of paying us for this job, would you consider donating to this animal sanctuary that really needs some help right now? And they've done that. And so with some projects where we had with ALAW, we asked them to donate our usual fee towards a sanctuary, and we've done that with other clients. And we're just trying our best to educate as much as possible, because as I think we mentioned, education is the key. And our dad has always said that if you learn something, nobody can ever take that away from you. So we're learning from people all the time, and we think veganism is actually a blessing. It saves so many lives. So it's our duty almost to let people know about it.
Yeah, just that's it. And going back to what you said in the beginning about how you want to be able to make a difference. I think that what you're doing with your work, both professionally and personally, I think it's incredible. So please carry on. And I encourage everyone who wants to have a brilliant website made, who wants to showcase their work. It doesn't matter again what occupation you're in. I would definitely urge them and encourage them to get in touch with you guys, because this is the way I feel. This is the way businesses should be run. There's an element of taking and there's an element of giving, because that's the way we can be sustainable. So what kind of obstructions have you faced, or what kind of arguments have you faced when you've had when you've talked to people, and how have you countered them?
Okay, so what's really interesting is sometimes you'll get people that you've known for a very long time, and they're probably a little bit older than we are, and then they'll make a comment which is so it's so surprising that you're almost like, wow, that was like something like a 10-year-old would say, but it's almost like they just suddenly. I can't describe it. They'll just go, oh, I don't want that milk. Funny milk. Oh, you've got this, that's vegan. Oh God, no, I don't want any of that. So they've already got that bias, and prejudice towards something, so that surprised me. So there are people that I think that I really respected, and they're like a lot older than me. And I think they're, normally you would have like a conversation backwards and forwards, but it's so closed. So sometimes to overcome that, we just use humor. So we'll go, okay, maybe not funny milk today, but next time you come over, I'll make you a really nice funny milk drink. And then because they've seen that we haven't attacked them really hard, but then we've sent away the funny milk for them to try. So we'll go, bring the funny milk to your house, and then you can try it in different things. They've come back and said, actually, that was all right. And then they'll tell us, oh, I've stopped using cow's milk in my tea and coffee. And they're actually quite proud of it. So most people are compassionate, but I think they don't. It's a mixture. So sometimes it's that they don't know, or sometimes it's a willful ignorance, I would almost say, because they're happy with how things are and they want things to be that bubble.
Yeah, you're like a reminder.
And a reminder, yeah.
Yeah, they don't like it.
So we have had...
or they even say, oh, are you still vegan? And when you go, yes, they're like,
oh yeah.
Like almost like, oh, why?
Yeah, or they'll say, for example, oh, I really wanted to cook you something, and I was going to make you a lobster, but you won't eat the lobster. And so they'll sometimes make comments like that. We get that a lot. Also in terms of things like messaging, how we communicate the vegan message in non-vegan arenas has been. We have to be very careful with our wording and language, because people sometimes they don't understand. So, for example, when I first went vegan, we went to this. We went to a vegan festival, and there were little badges, and it said "Meat is murder, dairy is RAPE," and all the some other I think there's another one which was, yeah, we just looked at each other and thought, oh, that's a bit much, isn't it? Meat is murder. But now we realise it. Well, it is, because someone's life has been taken away. We all want to live. So, but how do we communicate that in a way that people can accept that this is happening, so they don't go into that denial mode? How can we help people realise that they can be part of the solution? How can we bring all these things into the light, and help them realise that they can be part of the solution? So one thing that really sticks to my mind is the Dr. Milton Mills said something, which was, sometimes people are kept in the dark for so long. When you shine that light into their eyes, it's really painful, and they reject that light straight away. But you have to keep shining it, because that nobody should be kept in the dark that long. Nobody should not be able to see the light. So you keep shining that light, but you will get rejection. So every time that does happen, we learn from it. We pick ourselves up from it. We approach it sometimes with humour, sometimes with a more serious tone if we're speaking with younger audiences. So we've produced like these free little fun and games which incorporate animal advocacy and animal rights. We'll use child-friendly language, and we try to bring across the animal's individuality, their personhood, why they want to live, and a lot of the things that are happening to them, especially to farmed animals, is just because they've been born into the wrong body. So like you said about earthlings, it's because they were a different race. It's just because they're a different species, so they look different, or they speak a different language. But does that give us a right to hurt them? And is it necessary to hurt them when we've got so much choice today? I'm so happy with, wow, there's so much choice today. And we're so grateful that there are alternatives to replace so-called animal foods and animal products. And I think the environmental and the health message is getting out there. People are knowing that you can get protein and all the vitamins you need and calcium from all plants and vegetables and fruits. But the animals need that spotlight shone back on them as bright as possible.
There's a book called Food is Climate by Glenn Mirza. I don't know if you've come across it. And from all the books and all the things that I've read and watched, that book just nails it on the head about where we are environmentally and what we need to do. It's a short book, but it just states the facts like they are. There's no waffling about it. But the way he portrays and the way he describes our environmental crisis and the solutions that we have, it's so simple. This is the thing. It is so simple. We complicate our crisis with all these other things and solutions that we have, but the solutions are so simple to get us out of the emergency that we're in. And if I were to summarize that to you, you already know this, is to transition to a vegan lifestyle and to reforest as much as we can, rewild grazing land, and protect the oceans. Only those 4 things need to be done, because without doing, say if we just focused on the land bit and the food bit but ignored the ocean, we're still screwed, because it is the ocean that is our greatest carbon store that we have on our planet. And if we don't focus on the ocean, which is ignored most of the time, I feel, the fishes, the dolphins, and how they are vital to saving ourselves. And I'll give you an example how. We have no hope in hell. Because again, when it comes to lobsters, right? So say if we met someone who said something, I want to cook your lobster, we can maybe ask them that one of the main reasons why whales are dying right now is because of lobster traps and lobster nets. And I'm sure there are people out there who relate more to whales and dolphins than they do to lobsters. They'd rather protect one and kill the other. But when it comes to the whales and the dolphins and the fishes, they're the ones that sustain phytoplankton population. And it is the phytoplankton that sequester the carbon that is, ruining our atmosphere right now. There's a fact that's always stayed with me. A 1% increase in phytoplankton population has the carbon sequestration potential of 2 billion mature trees. And the only way that can happen is by not eating fishes. And I feel that sometimes when people come with this narrow-minded view of eating lobster, maybe we can enlighten them of how that lobster is connected to our very survival. And the fact that that lobster was caught amongst all the others in the ocean is limiting our own life. It's taking our life away, our future away. And the other thing that I sometimes, Benjamin Zephaniah, he mentioned it really clearly this year as his resolution for 2023. He said, I'm no longer going to call it meat. I'm not going to say, I don't eat meat. I'm going to say, I don't eat animals. I don't eat individuals, and I think that little shift, even though it's very subtle, it's very, very powerful. Again, the other thing is him or her. We have to name
I
them.
saw your post about that. Yeah,
it's all about gender. So if someone's cooking something and made something, we should say, oh, how does she taste or how does he taste? And as soon as that's dropped, even though that person might not change then and there's a seed that's planted.
Yeah.
And we have to keep planting seeds all the time. And what about you, Carol? What kind of obstacles have you faced when you've had to, express how you feel and basically express the truth of what we're doing?
I definitely feel like there's less resistance towards vegans now. When you go to a restaurant, they will have dishes that are vegan, whereas before they were like, oh, you can have eggs, you can have salmon. They still thought you could eat those products. And I'd have to explain to them, no, I don't have any animal products. And I'd have to explain to them, but it seems like the awareness of what vegans don't consume, they're understanding that better. Even when I go shopping, I feel that I can leave a positive footprint by showing people what I'm buying when I'm putting my products on the conveyor belt, and the shopper's like scanning the products, because the people behind me and the people beside me will be interested. And one time I bought some Magnum vegan ice cream, and I remember this man saying to me, he came over and he goes, vegan ice cream? No. And I remember just holding up the box and I was just going, tasty. I don't consume breast milk, to him. And he was a little bit shocked, but it was good because the people that were around saw, and I could see them nodding their head as well.
There's so much choice now.
Yeah.
It's our aim is just to normalize veganism, normalize animal advocacy, normalize activism, so that anyone that's considering activism or advocacy or going vegan, they can just see it's normal people, everyday people
that they can relate to
from all walks of life. And like you said, we need vegans from every walk of life and every profession, whether it's an accountant or a doctor or a dentist or a builder or a lawyer. We need us all to work together to normalize veganism and help bring all these issues forward.
Carol, I loved how you stood your ground there, because a lot of the times as advocates, we don't really advocate for them because we want to take the easy route. And I feel that just how some of the people who've paved the way to where we are, like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, if we say the truth non-violently, it doesn't matter what they come back with, we'll have done our duty to the animals. And this is something I have to keep reminding myself, because it's not easy trying to tell people that what they're doing is so wrong and so hurtful. And the only way I can do it is basically just tell myself, look, you have to respond like it's the first time. like the argument about plants feel pain, and all these things, they keep coming up over and over again. We have to keep responding like it is our first time, and talk about it compassionately, and do our best. And if they don't want to listen to it, then there's nothing more we can do. But at least we stood our ground and said it non-violently. And I feel that every time I'm put in that situation, I try and imagine a trillion animals standing behind me and just telling me, Kevil, look, this is your chance. What are you going to say? And I feel this comes with practice, because it's very easy to just, lose your temper or just think, oh my God, how can you not get this? But this is something that comes with practice. That tolerance and that resilience is something we need to build. So thank you for making, for reminding me of that. I think this has been a really, really good session, really good podcast. And I feel that it's nice to end on a question that I feel that will inspire us, but also guide us in a way. And again, everyone has their own path. And what I want to ask you guys is, what impact would you like to make with your life for the rest of your days? And how do you want to achieve it? Because, it doesn't matter what we've done in the past. We all want to do more. So what are your plans, and what impact do you want to make before you leave?
I want to see a vegan world for sure. And I feel that there's so many industries that unnecessarily harm animals. And I feel everyone is able to make a change. So even, for example, in the car industry, we can say we don't want leather interior. You've got these electric cars and you're saying you're doing it for the environment. Well, actually, leather is harmful from the cows. When you go out for a meal, demand vegan dishes, sign petitions, be positive. So when people see you, you're not a reason for them not to become vegan, because they might use it as an excuse. For example, if they meet someone that's horrible, they don't go, oh, that's because they're a meat eater. They will just automatically say, oh, it's because they're a vegan. So I always try to, no matter what I'm feeling inside, I will always try to be a positive voice for the animals. And no matter how I do my advocacy, always try and do it in a positive light and give people the resources. I think you can lead people, but you can't force them. They have to make the decision themselves. And you have to kind of guide them and say, these are the choices. All you have to do is, instead of going here to get milk, you just go to this aisle instead and you choose the dairy-free alternatives. And it's that easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you had to recommend something that you've come across that's just blown your mind when it comes to vegan food, what would you say? Like in terms of cheese, chocolate, foods, milks, drinks, clothing, whatever. What would you recommend, or what do you think is something that's your favorite?
Oh God, it's like so spoilt for choice now in terms of the cheeses and ice cream.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? Most people, the argument is, oh, but I love cheese too much.
You were one of those. You were a cheese addict. It was actually, you watched a VR headset, wasn't it?
I was a cheese addict, and
she was vegetarian.
But I was vegetarian, and when we were going first vegan, I was saying, oh, we can reduce. Rather than buying a pack of cheese, every few days, we'll buy it once a month instead. And then I went to a vegan festival and I put the VR set on. And I remember the lady saying to me, it's not graphic or anything like that. You'll just see everything from the cow's point of view. I was like, okay, fine. I watched it, and honestly, it was just such a sad existence. And wherever I looked, it was just, that's my life for 5 years, concrete ground, seeing other cows. It was just such a horrible existence. And at the end, it wasn't gory or anything like that, but it was just so sad. And I remember taking the VR set off and just bursting into tears. I didn't expect to have that reaction. And then after that, I was adamant, I'm never eating cheese again. and I couldn't be tempted at all. But now, I mean, if people are transitioning towards a vegan diet, luckily there's so many different vegan cheeses out there. I find the ones that like are made from cashew nuts are good because they have like that creamy texture. But I would just advise people to try different ones because there's different cheeses out there. You have mature cheese, you have mild cheese. So there is something out there for everybody. You've got so much choice now, and the supermarkets stock a lot of brands. So I'd say you will find one out there that you like the taste of.
Brilliant. What about you, Carmen?
I think what surprised me is that before I would probably eat like 1 or 2 vegetables, and they would always be on the side. So I would have an animal product in the middle and a couple of vegetables on the side. So when I first transitioned, I tried a lot of the different substitutes, like sausages or burgers or anything like that. But what I've discovered is I really, really like tofu. And I just love all forms of it. So whether it's like the silken one and it's just like really simply cooked with a tiny bit of soy sauce and a drop of sesame oil and spring onions, and I mix that into rice, I'm so happy with that. And I like it when it's fried, and I like it in a curry, and I like it with noodles. So yeah, I've discovered like loads of different forms of tofu. And also, since becoming vegan, I've also just tried loads of different fruit and vegetables, and even cooking things from scratch, like frozen peas with rice, and then just discovering how sweet the peas taste, that they taste so good, and beans, and when we have like carrots in season, and all these different fruit and vegetables, and even like opening a can of mandarins, which I probably would never have done before. Like I just like eating, you know, things like fruits. There's such an abundance of different fruits and vegetables. So I'm learning to love fruit and vegetables a lot.
Expanded, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you don't need to worry about getting food poisoning as well.
Yeah. And I used to have like loads of different chopping boards, and then I thought, you know, you have to check everything's cooked. And I remember my mum and dad like checking, putting a thermometer in someone and saying, is that done? No, it's not. And then putting things back in the oven. We don't have to do any of that stuff anymore. So it's been so good. I honestly, I can't believe I didn't do it sooner. And I laugh about it now. But honestly, I think the thing that if I could give anyone any advice would be to just go for it. Go vegan, because you just can't imagine the number of animals that you'll be saving from suffering. And I'm talking like really big suffering, the animals, that what they go through in farms. Like, it surprised me that most animal abuse actually happens on farms, and it's just standard industry practice. So if you don't agree with what's happening, go for the non-animal products. And it's really easy when you find out how. So just do as much research as possible. And yeah,
you're not missing out on anything because you're eating the same food.
Yeah,
as well. You can, like, for example, if you want spaghetti bolognese, you can still have it. You can have the meat replacement, or you can use lentils. You know, everything. You can still have like vegan pizza, ice cream. There's no missing out at all. And and you'll be helping to ease world hunger as well. Like, all of these plant foods could feed so many of the world's population. And anybody can do it, whether you're rich or poor. You can just do it. But I think the first step, like you said, is being open to it. And sometimes it is hard to watch things, but there is like a saying where if you see suffering, you move closer towards it, so that you can understand why and put yourself in that person's or individual's position, and what would you want them to do. So when you see that footage, for sure that you'll find how you do it, you'll work out.
Thank you. We've come full circle now, and we started we're ending exactly where we started.
So I was going to say, there was like a Happy Cow, isn't it? It's a really good app for food. Yeah. And if people are looking into resources,
like documentaries, there's a website called veganlinks.co.uk, and it has all the different documentaries on there. whether you want to look into towards the environment, the animals, or health. It's got everything on there, and it even has like a shopping haul as well. So if you're looking at replacement products, it would give you like some suggestions.
Thank you. But I would like.
So keep sharing your content and caring, Carol.
I'm going to try, but I want to urge everyone to check out medideas.com. It's a brilliant website. You guys are a brilliant team, and anyone who wants to start a website for any purpose, you guys are the people to go to. So thank you for everything that you're doing, both professionally and personally, and how you're giving back to the world. Really appreciate it. But yeah, we will definitely keep in touch. And I just wanted to say, God bless.
Oh, thank you, and to all of your family. And we're so grateful to have met you. And I think what surprised us most is there are other people that are out there that care so much about animals, the planet, each other. And we don't know these animals, but you care so much. So we're so grateful to have found you and other people that like you. And yeah, it's great.
This is exactly what we need to do. We need to strengthen our community and come together, because it's only when we come together we can make a shift. Right now, I feel everyone's isolated. And if we can link up again, personally, professionally, in all aspects of life, this is how we can start hitting that brick wall and destroying it, because it's, that time is so urgent. And again, I'm so grateful for everything that you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thank you too, Carol. We'll keep building that little road, whether it's a small pebble or a gravel or a rock. We'll just keep building that road.
Going.
Yeah, keep going.
I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.